Why are you trying so hard in your first year to pull the country so far to the left?
Well, I'm not. If you may recall, you guys have been trying to convince me that I am Bernie Sanders. I'm not. I like him, but I'm not Bernie Sanders. I'm not a socialist. I'm a mainstream Democrat, and I have been.
All right, guys, so the Democrats are doing damage control after Biden's disastrous press conference in which he basically wet the bed and pissed a whole lot of people off, okay? So in order to clean up Biden's disaster, the janitor here is Miss Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, who's been tasked with trying to finesse this situation.
Before I get rid of you, which I'm enjoying you so much today, I really am.
I'm enjoying you too.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
But a little bird told me that you said you might be resigning the job this year. Say it isn't so. Is it true?
I don't know when I'm leaving. This is an honor and a privilege, and I love working for President Biden. President Biden every single day. I love spending time with him, hearing what's on his mind.
Okay, and quite honestly, guys, they're desperate. They're very, very, very desperate because Biden made some really ridiculous claims. And I think one of the most ridiculous claims that Biden made was the false assertion that the 2022 midterms would be illegitimate if the Democrats didn't pass their so-called voting rights legislation, right? Jen Psaki was so desperate to correct the narrative on what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have basically been implying that she actually went on Fox News to try to set the record straight. Take a look.
Here. Let's start with voting rules. You just tweeted this. I want to put it up here. It says, let's be clear that the president was not casting doubt on the legitimacy of the 2022 election. He was making the opposite point in 2020. A record number of voters turned out in the face of a pandemic, and election officials made sure they could vote and have those votes counted. But here's what the president said yesterday afternoon.
Well, it all depends on whether or not we're able to make the case to the American people that some of this is being set up to try to alter the outcome of the election. The increase in the prospect of being illegitimate is in direct proportion to us not being able to get these reforms passed.
Last night, on the eve of his anniversary in office, those reforms failed. So I'm curious if he will continue to say that those 2022 elections will be illegitimate.
Well, first, I've talked to the president a lot about this, and he absolutely is not predicting that the 2022 elections would be illegitimate. The point he was raising was both that in 2020, even amongst challenging circumstances, efforts to suppress the vote, and the midst of a pandemic, there was record turnout, Democrats and Republicans, record turnout to go to the polls. And the point he was making is that the former president asked a number of states, 7 or more in fact, to overturn the outcome of the election. Now, obviously, if there's an effort to do that, we've got to fight against that. That's what our commitment is to doing. But he was not making a prediction. He has confidence in the American people, and we're going to do everything we can to protect people's rights.
He mentioned them.
All right, guys. So Jen Psaki was roasted up for this on social media, and rightfully so, because most of what she was saying is based off a lie. Okay, it's based off a lie. The first lie is the idea that people's votes are being suppressed, which is what the Democrats are pushing, right? And the second lie is that Biden is simply talking about the GOP and their new voting laws that they're passing that gives them the power, right? According to the Biden administration and Democrats, they're saying that it gives them the power to overturn the elections if they just want to overturn it, right? And what they're actually really referring to is Georgia's voting law, in which there's a provision in there that allows the state elections board to replace a duly elected county's elections board with a single person. And the Democrats have framed this based off a lie here, and it's a lie, that, hey, this allows the state to just overturn the elections and to just throw out votes that they don't want, right? That's the way they're framing it. However, that's literally not what the law says, and that's not how it works. Because quite simply, let's say they actually want to do that. Even if they wanted to do it, based off the law itself, they would not be able to actually do it in time before certification. And I'm going to attach an article here in the description so that you guys can read in more details how that provision in the Georgia voting law works that the Democrats are basically lying about and trying to say that, well, the GOP is trying to pass laws that just allows them to unilaterally overturn the election. That's literally not true, right? That is false, okay? Again, these are the same people that are so concerned about election conspiracies, but they have no issues pushing their own, right? I find that fascinating because even with Jen Psaki's silly explanation here, right, in which she's trying to say that Biden's not trying to cast doubts on, the 2022 midterms, the mainstream liberal media, which is overwhelmingly pro-Biden, has even picked up on this and to say, wait, what Biden's saying here is the same stuff that we were preaching against. Even they are not buying this BS. Take a look.
Do you agree with what he said in that press conference? Are you concerned that without these voting rights bills, the election results won't be legitimate?
I'm absolutely concerned about that.
Scott, I read a piece that you just wrote, essentially saying this is Joe Biden doing what Joe Biden does.
Yeah, well, I never imagined how quickly this would all unfold. The person they sold on the campaign, the nice old, moderate grandpa who just wanted to help everybody get along and compromise, is not what we got over the last year. He has no mandate really to do much of anything. It's amazing that he got a couple of things done when the mandate was really pretty clear. 50-50 Senate, a near 50-50 House, and a pretty close presidential election. The mandate was simply replace Donald Trump and don't do anything drastic or stupid. And everything about this agenda is extremely drastic. And he's been angrier than I think people expected. He's been more divisive. He's been more partisan. You look at the issues. We built 5 years of coverage on Trump out of Russia, COVID, and democracy. The president at his press conference invites Russia to invade the Ukraine. We got more deaths under Biden than Trump. And now we have the president and vice president and leading Democrats question the legitimacy of the 2022 election. Are we any better off on these three issues that we crucified Trump over? I think he has a lot of political problems, and an AP poll came out this morning. Only 28% of Americans want the sitting president to run for re-election, and fewer than half of Democrats. This is a disaster.
So again, guys, tell me how is it that all the mainstream media plus Democrats in the House are basically saying, hey, this is what Biden said. And for whatever reason, Jen Psaki comes out here and says, oh, no, that's not what he said. Right? That's not what he said. When again, one of the whips in the Democrat House is flat out telling you, yeah. If we don't get this voting rights bill passed, then I'm concerned about the legitimacy of the 2022 midterms. Again, I mean, bruh, the Democrats will piss on your legs and tell you that it's raining, right? And then if you notice that they're pissing on your legs, they'll say, hey, don't get mad at us. Just take a drink, grab a margarita, take a kickboxing class, kick rocks. Kind of like what Jen Psaki basically said on her cleanup tour when asked about Democrats being dissatisfied with Biden's failing agenda.
So my advice to everyone out there who's frustrated, sad, angry, pissed off, feel those emotions, go to a kickboxing class, have a margarita, do whatever you need to do this weekend, and then wake up on Monday morning, we got to keep fighting. And what that means, Lindsay, is we have to keep talking to members about federal legislation. That's essential. That's something that can be permanent, that can make sure people's rights are protected.
Bruh, this is basically what she's saying. She's saying, listen, I know you guys are frustrated that we can't pass this voting rights legislation that we've fearmongered to you guys about in regards to what will happen if we can't get it passed. But hey, listen, relax. Get a margarita, go take a kickboxing class, kick rocks, basically, and we'll take this back up another day, right? And the hilarious part about this suggestion from Jen Psaki is that she spent all this time, her and the Democrats, telling us allegedly how hard it is to get an ID. And last time I checked, you need an ID in order to get a margarita, right? So all those people whose votes are being suppressed because they can't get an ID, how in the world can they follow her advice and get a margarita, right? To take the edge off because the Democrats can't pass their agenda, right? Again, it just shows you how ridiculous this stuff is, okay? It's ridiculous. But hey, at the very least, Jen Psaki didn't come out here and say that it's really not the Democrat leader's fault. It's really the Democrats' followers' fault for being upset, kind of like this guy, James Bagalia, said on CNN the other day.
Did President Biden put more effort into getting infrastructure passed, for example?
Well, he got infrastructure passed, and that's a good thing because success can breed success. He is putting the full force of the presidency behind it. I think the problem for the Democrats right now is not that they have bad leaders. They have bad followers.
I want you guys to understand what this man just said. He said, the problem with Democrats is not they have bad leaders. It's that they have bad followers, okay? This guy is really telling you what all mainstream prominent Democrats really think about their voters. And I've been telling you guys this for the longest time. The Democrats think their base is dumb. Like, they literally think that their base is dumb, okay? That is why they are successfully able to fearmonger people about how votes are being suppressed, even though more people showed up to vote during 2020 than any election in history, right? But your vote is being suppressed, okay? And voter ID is racist, right? According to the Democrats. Even though there are Democrat states with stricter voting laws than red states. The same red states that they're complaining about, saying that they're suppressing the vote. Apparently, voter suppression doesn't happen in Democrat states, right? Even with tougher laws. It's almost as if the voter suppression is purely based on whether or not you're a Democrat or Republican, regardless of the laws. And don't worry, it's okay when we cast doubts on the legitimacy of elections. But if the other side does it, then hey, they're insurrectionists, right? Again, the Democrats get away with this silly rhetoric because they legitimately think their voters are dumb, right? That's what they think, okay? And this guy literally is telling you, yes, we think our voters are dumb. Right? And when they're not as dumb as we thought they were, they're the problem. Not us. They're the problem. Okay? Now, again, Jen Psaki, in my opinion, her coming out here, with this terrible attempt to clean up what Biden says, again, kind of proves my point once again. They think you're dumb, right? They think you're going to buy into these conspiracies, right? These false claims about 2022 that they're making and all this other stuff about how the GOP voting laws are so bad and that they can unilaterally overturn the election and all this other stuff that they're simply just lying about. They're making it up because they don't think that you guys or their base is smart enough to look this stuff up for themselves, right? They think that you're just going to believe everything they say and not do your own research, right? And then if you do your own research, they tell you that it's bad to do your own research, right? You're a conspiracy theorist if you do your own research. You're a nut job, right? We've heard that before. So, I just found this to be fascinating, right? This Jen Psaki cleanup job, because I don't think she really made it better. I think everybody kind of knows she's BSing at this point. And I kind of like seeing the mainstream media call her out on her BS because she's been doing this the whole time she's been in office, right? She is the biggest liar that we've ever had as press secretary, in my opinion. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.